Okay, welcome to level 2, lesson 2 of my trading school. This is the intermediate course, and today I want to talk about timeframes, and they are an extremely important topic. Specifically, what is the significance of timeframes? What does it mean when you hear price is fractal or timeframes are fractal? Which timeframes matter more? What timeframes I use, as well as beginner mistakes within timeframes. And why are timeframes so significant? Well, they tell us a story of what price is doing. They don't change price, they just give us a good perspective of what price is doing. And different traders operate on different time frames. And without time frame knowledge or context, trades can just feel random. Now, I personally use 6 different time frames, and I'm a day trader. The time frames I use is the daily, 4-hour time frame, 1-hour time frame, 15-minute time frame, 5-minute time frame, and the 1-minute time frame. All of them are used for a very specific reason. Now, price is fractal, and what the heck does that mean? The market or price is fractal, meaning price behaves the same on every single time frame. I'll show you kind of an example of what I mean. If I were to just show you this chart right here without the context of telling you what time frame it is, it'd be really hard to tell what time frame we're looking at. This here is the 1-minute time frame, and this could have been the daily, which the daily is right here. And the important takeaway is you can't really tell what time frame is what, because they move the same. They move up or down, but one is going to take longer to do than the other. And that is the same thing with patterns. They create patterns or certain things that happen within the market, and that happens across all time frames. One is just on a different scale or time frame than the other. I'm going to draw an example for you. Let's say that the daily time frame is bullish, meaning it's going up. At that exact same time, the 5-minute time frame could be bearish. So a trend on a lower time frame can just be a pullback on a higher time frame to continue higher. So basically structure just repeats. It's going to go up or down on every time frame, just at different scales. The biggest takeaway here is that one time frame can be telling a different story than the other time frame, and lower time frames exist within higher time frame structure. Now, there are time frames that matter more than others. Besides the 6 that I just mentioned, those are just the time frames I use, but there are time frames that hold more significance, and that is the higher time frames. Higher time frames just hold more importance or significance in the market movement. For example, if the daily trend, and I'm just using trend as a basic example, this can go for very many confluences, but higher time frames matter. And in this case, with trend specifically, the daily time frame, let's just say, is bullish, and the 5-minute time frame, or a time frame below that, let's just say, is bearish. The one that's going to hold more significance, meaning continue either up or down, is probably the higher time frame, the daily, over the 5-minute. The reason for that is if the trend on the daily time frame is bullish, there's a lot more participants in that direction, and it takes a lot longer for it to reverse and end up going down. Whereas the 5-minute, it's a lot less time for it to reverse and continue up in direction with the higher time frame. Now, lower time frames can, but they typically don't override the higher time frame. They operate with them. Now, there are a lot of beginner mistakes that happen within time frames. The biggest one is they just don't have a set few that they look at. You want to select a few that you look at consistently, because it's going to help your market and your analyzing extremely consistent on a daily basis. The biggest thing, though, is that beginner traders focus on too small of time frames. They want to jump into the action immediately without having a bigger picture of what's going on higher time frames. Let me show you an example. Let's say the daily is bullish and the 5-minute, like I used in the previous example, is bearish. A lot of beginner traders are just going to jump into that super small time frame and try to take a short. And what happens is the higher time frame, as in the daily, is bullish, wanting to go up, and they get caught in the continuation and end up losing because they didn't have a higher time frame knowledge or idea of what is going on. Now, how can you fix that? Instead of focusing on this super small time frame, you could have focused on the higher time frame and went for a long instead of a short, because there's a lot more strength in the higher time frames. Now, for this example, as far as like the high time frames go, I just used trend. This can go for so many different confluences like liquidity, fair value gap, order block, all the above, which I haven't talked about yet. I've talked about trend, which is why I was using trend as my example. The key takeaway here is time frames just provide context, and each time frame can tell a different story. For example, like I've used throughout this video, daily can tell one story, The 5-minute time frame or whatever time frame below that can be telling a completely different story. And the higher time frames are always going to be a bit more important, whether that is with trend or the other confluence that I will be covering. This lesson on time frames is going to make a whole lot more sense as I dive into other confluences. In fact, the next thing I talk about is market structure, which is just going to keep building on the foundation that you are learning right now. I will see you on the next video.